This is Monte with a message. In the first part of this segment, we talked about how important it is to be careful when you are speaking about other people. We were talking about keeping people's name out of your mouth, or speaking in a manner that's not considerate to someone else's thoughts or feelings. We talked about how, when you say things, those things have consequences, and to be careful about what you say because, those consequences, you don't know how those things are going to be received. You say the wrong thing and someone can get upset and they react. In this segment, we want to talk about the flip side, kind of like the devil's advocate in a way. What I mean by that is, yes, when you say the wrong thing, when you don't take care of someone's feelings or thoughts in the things that you say, yeah, generally you do expect to receive some kind of backlash or some sort of retribution in some way. But let's think about the flip side of this. The flip side of this is, as an adult, sometimes things don't need to be met with an equal or harsher reaction. Sometimes taking the high road is the best road. There's a thing called escalation. And what happened last night is that things escalated very quickly. You had on one side Chris Rock making a joke, which is what comedians do. None of these things are outside the realm of understanding. This isn't new. This is a new ground. Comedians make jokes. This is what they're paid to do. And typically what you would do is because everyone has a respect, even if it's just, high level, cursory, surface level respect, they have a respect. Most people wouldn't take some of these things personally or seriously. Think about when you see on television, when you have those roasts where you have people who come in, people who know you, people who are familiar with you, who know your life, and they know they know where the bodies are buried. And they come in and they dig in deep. They really, really get in, dig deep with the insults. And in the end, it's usually met with, good spirits and being lighthearted. Even if it cuts kind of deep, the general feeling is that, it's all in good fun. It's all in good faith. It's just, that's just one of those things where, you have a night where, your best friends or your colleagues or whatnot, they send you off, while giving you lighthearted insults. In this situation, it's kind of understood when you're sitting in an audience that you may be, if you're within eyeshot of the presenter, the person making the jokes, it's a very good chance that you're going to be a target. But usually what happens with these things is that, the damage isn't really, it's real, it's really nothing. It's usually just really surface level. Like, you make a joke, everyone laughs, you move on to the next one. You don't make a big deal out of it. You don't cause attention to it. But in this case, it escalated. It escalated from when Chris Rock made the joke. Will Smith took it for what it was. It's a joke. That's typically what men do. We see it. It's not really, didn't really come across as something that was, something that deserved to be escalated, but it got escalated when Will Smith saw his wife's reaction. Now, what could have happened is that they could have, looked at each other and said, hey, I thought it was funny. You don't think it was funny. It was a joke. let's talk about it later on if it still makes a difference to you, and then we'll talk to Chris Rock about it. But what happened is that instead, on national TV, international TV, Will Smith took a move that it's kind of, I want to say, unprecedented in modern times, where you take on live TV, you take an opportunity to attack someone who generally in a host. You're not expecting this. You're not expecting a boxing match. You're expecting just verbal, verbal back and forth and comedic exchange. But it wasn't funny to Will. At least when he looked over at Jada and saw that it wasn't funny to her, then the mood kind of changed quite a bit. He took the step of walking right up there in the middle of the segment and taking a slap at the man. Now again, these are over 50-year-old guys, accomplished guys who know how to act, who know how to behave in scenarios and situations like this. I'll compare this to think of like a presidential debate or some political debate. What you typically have is not too different from a situation like this, where you have, except it's not comedy. It's very adversarial in a way. Those debates are. You have opposing. You may have opposing members of the same party. You may have opposing members of different parties. And what you often find is that, in a very underhanded, very subtle way, that if they're running for the same seat or running for the same office, you'll find that candidates will make remarks, offhanded remarks, sly remarks, attacking remarks. And when I'm talking about people who have a general, cordial or a good relationship with each other. Now, contrast that with two opposing political adversaries or opponents, where they really don't like each other, and then the insults get, they start cutting really deep, where it goes from, just not talking about, accomplishments, political stances. They talk about, they kind of, they take the gloves off, to some extent, and go for, the things that you're not supposed to touch, like family and, background and things like that. And what you often find, if you watch when those debates come to an end, you find that those guys, they smile at each other, they laugh with each other, they hug, they shake hands, they exchange pleasantries. Like, for the last hour, they just didn't sling mud at each other. They weren't, and verbally going off at each other, about to, a second away from throwing fists, figuratively speaking, throwing blows, figuratively speaking. But they don't do that, because the reason why is because there is a level of decorum, an expected manner of behaving when you're an adult. Can those guys, throw blows on the stage in a political debate? Of course they can. But it looks bad. It looks bad because these are supposed to be adults. These are supposed to be men who think rationally, logically, and not looking to escalate or get back at someone who they feel slighted by. And that's where we are right here. I think from a different perspective, I think in retrospect, I would say this was an opportunity where Will should have just laughed it off and just let the moment pass. No one probably would have ever even said anything or much at all about it. It still remains to be seen if this was staged, if it was in fact a real reaction. There's a lot of debate on that. In the end, we caught the reaction. The reaction shouldn't have happened. Imagine if we took that same logic, even in the times that we're in right now. This is a lot different, and I'm talking about what's happening on the world stage in terms of what's happening in Russia and Europe, where threat of war, escalating further into war, not just a regional war, but more of a global war. It's nuances like walking up to someone because you feel slighted and slapping them. They have far more dangerous consequences when making those same types of reactions. That's why you have right now the president is kind of walking back to some of the statements that he made, because it can be, those nuanced statements can be received very they can be received in a way that comes across as signaling of talking about things that could make things escalate into something more serious than just how someone feels about what the Russian president is doing. It could be perceived as an act of aggression. And at this stage, at where we are right now, we have far more the consequences of having these statements being misconstrued or misunderstood is a lot different when you're talking about people who have nuclear weapons at their disposal and not just hand slaps. So there's an expectation of decorum that we must have. Take that into some of the things that you do, some of the decisions that you have to make in your personal life. Everything doesn't need to be escalated, because you don't know how far the escalation will go. You say one thing, someone says something else in response. Then you say something on top of that, and then someone else says something on top of that. Escalation can get you in a place where you can't get out of without serious damage. And I think what we see right now is we're seeing the fallout. Hopefully the damage isn't that both Chris Rock or Will Smith see any, professional impact as a result of this. But not only that, the argument now is, or the discussion now is that all black men are not able to control themselves. Some of the things that used to be said back in the day to describe how one group of people may have been more superior, let me say that, superior over another group of people because of how they react to things and respond to things and are able to control themselves. A lot of people feel like, or have come to the conclusion, that we may be seeing fallout as a result of what the perception of how men handle themselves, how they may look to a group of black people, or for the collective black people as a whole. Hopefully, this blows over But the point I want to leave you with is that at a certain point in your life, when you're 18, 19 and up, you have to be careful about what you say and how you respond. You may put yourself in a position or a situation where you may act too much or cause someone else to react too much to the point of no return. Hopefully this message gets to you where you see the opportunity to, or you are able to see the opportunity to de-escalate things so that you're not in a situation where you are not able to come back from something. Till next time.